Welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. Today we will be reading chapters 31 to 35. Um we're just going to jump right into it cuz there's a lot going on and I am excited to see where we're going, where we're headed. People are being proven innocent. Some people are starting to look a little bit more suspicious. It's crazy. So we're just going to jump right into it. Chapter 31. Key to the lock. Belle hesitated. A shiver up her spine, picking up the hairs on the back of her neck. That pre-warning, that primal response to danger. Belle checked over her shoulder, searching through the darkness, eyes catching onto the trees across the street, their dancing shadows, shaping them into looming faces. But her eyes were wrong. The danger wasn't coming from that way. It was behind the door. She slotted the key in and shoved the door inward, opening onto the waiting war zone. Laughter and warm voices, the smell of something buttery and sweet. She hadn't expected that. And, Belle, is that you? Rachel's voice rang out, finding her around the corner. Belle dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, leaving them in the way. Honey, I'm home, she said darkly to herself, following the sounds of the TV into the living room. Hi, sweetie. Rachel's eyes shone in the dark room, settling on Belle. The TV threw light onto her face with each frame, flashes of bright white into a green afterglow. She was on the sofa, legs tucked up against a checkered blanket, and she wasn't alone. Carter was on the other end, legs hidden beneath the same blanket, a bowl of popcorn between them, half empty already. Rachel took another handful. We're having a movie night. Come join, there's plenty of space. She moved the popcorn to her lap. Belle's eyes darted to Carter, her face flashing the same colors as Rachel's. We're watching Knives Out, Carter said, even though she must know that wasn't the question in Belle's eyes. Also, side note, Knives Out is a great movie. Anyways. I told you I was out tonight. Belle stood dead in the same spot. I know. Carter's hand disappeared under the blanket, too. By the time you replied, I was already here. Rachel said I could sleep over. She didn't have anything to do either, so we decided to watch a movie. Have you seen this one, Belle? I think you'd like it. Belle didn't care if she'd liked the movie. She didn't like this at all. The two of them together, without her. A churn of acid in her gut, the nod paddling around in it. This was a calculated move somehow. Rachel shifted the pieces on the board, trying to take Carter onto her side. Belle wouldn't give her up that easy. What's it about? Belle brightened her voice, moving towards the sofa, blocking the TV for Rachel, throwing her into full shadow. It's a murder mystery, Carter said, about a messed up family. I like it already. Belle took the middle seat between them, her body a barricade between Carter and Rachel, reclaiming her cousin, who couldn't see who Rachel truly was. She tucked her legs under the blanket, pulling until one of Rachel's feet was exposed. Rachel offered her popcorn. Belle hesitated, then took a handful. The pretense of it all. Mother and daughter, and Carter. It's definitely him, Rachel pointed at the screen, trying to catch Belle up, or showing her that she was better at this kind of thing. No news vans outside. Belle spoke over the character. They packed up earlier, Rachel said. Guess they have to sleep sometime. Or they don't care as much about Dad disappearing as you reappearing, Belle said, eyes ahead, because she wouldn't be able to hide which one she cared about most, and she was trying to keep Rachel close, study her to work out how to destroy her. Look how well she was doing, so close that she could hear the way Rachel's breath rattle gently. He'll be back, Belle. Carter pressed the underside of her foot against Belle's, matching them up. Cops in Vermont will track him down soon, and he'll come home, won't he? She leaned forward to speak across Belle, looking at Rachel. Rachel's hand paused above the popcorn, eyes darting between Carter and Belle. Yes, I'm sure he will, she answered. Belle could read Rachel better now, and could tell Carter had put her on the spot. Maybe Carter wasn't lost at all, and maybe Dad wasn't either. He better be, Belle added, like a threat, because it was. Rachel returned her gaze to the television. It's your grandpa's 85th birthday next Friday, she said, not a question. Carter said your dad hosts a family dinner here every year. That mac and cheese is the tradition. We can still do that, you know, even if he's not back by then. Belle swallowed. She tried not to move her head, eyes straining to study Rachel's side on, the flicker of the TV against the glass of her eyes. What did she meant by that? Had Rachel given something away? Did she know that Dad wouldn't be back next week? Wouldn't ever be back because she'd made sure of it? Yeah, Belle sniffed. That would be nice. Rachel reached for another handful of popcorn. Belle flinched at the bone crunch sound of it in her mouth. Does Jordan ever take your grandpa out for walks? Rachel asked. Belle was too close, could smell her buttery breath. Not good to be in the house all day. Belle was about to answer but stopped herself. It wasn't the first time Rachel had asked about Grandpa and Jordan, about their routine. Belle noticed things like that, now that she wasn't avoiding Rachel all the time. Was there something in that, or was Rachel just trying to make it look like she cared? Grandpa's fine, she said, shutting that down, whatever Rachel was trying. A curveball to throw her off, flipping Rachel's questions back to her. Do you like mac and cheese? A smile played across Rachel's lips. Yeah, I do. The movie finished, only crumbs and unpopped kernels at the bottom of the bowl. We should do this again, Rachel said, a sheen across her eyes, matching the sheen across her bare teeth. If you want. Movie night. Us three? I had fun. Me too, Belle said, at the exact same time as Carter. They laughed, and Rachel ruined it by joining in. Maybe once a week? I've got a lot of movies to catch up on, Rachel stood, kernels rattling in the bowl as she picked it up. Carter, where would you like to sleep? I can make up Charlie's bed for you. Belle stiffened, and Carter must have felt it through their feet. That's okay. Carter smiled up at her. I'll go in with Belle, like I normally do. Perfect, Rachel beamed, and maybe Belle was getting worse at this, because her smile didn't seem fake at all. Belle ventured back from brushing her teeth, hurrying down the hall so Rachel couldn't catch her, those eyes glowing in the dark. Good night, girls, Rachel called from the spare room, her door left ajar, not locked, not even shut. Belle winced, a shiver, even though the house was warm. Night, Carter called from Belle's room. Belle said it too, half a second later, a deeper, darker echo. She reached her bedroom and closed the door, leaning up against it. Carter was already in bed, tucked up on her usual side. So? Belle turned off the top light, climbing in under the comforter. So what? Carter replied. Belle put her cold feet on the exposed skin of Carter's legs. Carter kicked back. So, Rachel? Belle said, voice dropping into whispers. She didn't trust Rachel or her half-closed door. She could be creeping around outside, listening in. So, what about her? Carter said, not following suit, not lowering her voice. She said she had no plans, and how about we watch a movie and wait for you to get back? I didn't want to be at home. It's not a big deal. We had fun, didn't we? Belle couldn't say she did. Why are you getting defensive? I'm not, Carter snapped, hands crossed over her chest. Yes, you are. Because I know you're going to find some reason to be annoyed about it. No, I'm not, Belle said. Yes, you are, Carter hit back. Not annoyed, no. We just have to be careful around her, okay? Belle hissed. Why do we have to be careful? Rachel is nice. She's nice to both of us, and she's been through hell. Why do you always have to do this? I'm not doing anything, Belle said. It's Rachel. She's doing everything. She's back for just a week with a made-up story about where she's been for 16 years, and then my dad goes missing. Of course she wants you to think she's nice. Belle, a warning. Carter, a warning back. Did she say anything to you? About what? Carter recrossed her arms the other way, staring up at the ceiling. About anything? About my dad? About your parents? About why she chose to disappear and lie about it? Any slip-ups? Maybe. Carter chewed her bottom lip. She told me she was an evil mastermind with a plan for world domination. Carter! Belle turned to look at her, a final warning, eyes sharpening with it. No, nothing. Carter sighed. She asked me questions about school and dancing, and then we talked about the movie. Nothing suspicious. Sorry, Belle. Said like she wasn't sorry one bit. She raised one arm and dropped it against the comforter, a straight line between her and Belle, her own barricade. Belle turned the lamp off, throwing them into darkness. It was her turn to stare up at the ceiling. Who could she convince if she couldn't even convince Carter? Had Rachel already won? No, because Belle still had a plan. A next move. Jeff knew something about Rachel, or he believed that Grandpa did. Uncle Jeff was the way to get what she wanted. Dad back home and Rachel gone, like it was always meant to be. Rachel hadn't been studying her uncle since Rachel returned, but maybe she should have been. Has your dad said anything? Belle said, treading lightly, something she could only ask in the dark. About Rachel? Carter shifted the comforter too. No. Well, I mean, of course he's talked about her, about a return and the stress of it all, and that's why he thinks Uncle Charlie took off for some space, but he was happy she came home. Belle thought about that. She could play her the clip, what they caught Jeff saying to Grandpa. But what if Carter then told Rachel and took away their advantage? Has he been acting strange at all? Since Rachel returned? A pause, the crackle of Carter's hair against the pillow. No, she said. Why? No reason, just wondering. The whites of Carter's eyes glowed across from her. One slow blink took them away. Well, maybe a bit, Carter said, but everyone's been acting strange since Rachel returned. Another blink. Especially you. Carter rolled over and turned her back on Belle. I'm going to sleep. That's chapter 31. Chapter 32. The bell above the door jangled, catching Belle's nerves. She headed through the store, down the aisle of camping gear, past hockey towards the break room, ignoring the employees only sign, shoving it open. Uncle Jeff was inside, making a cup of coffee, the machine sputtering. Belle, he said, what are you doing here? You're not allowed back here. Came to talk to you, she set her jaw. Uh-oh, am I in trouble? He asked, adding milk to his coffee. You tell me. Is it about Carter? He took a sip. She stayed with you last night, right? She and Sherry have been... Well, you know teenage girls. Well, I am one, Belle said, but it's not about Carter. Your dad? Jeff looked up, lines crinkling around his eyes. I bet he'll be back tomorrow. That makes sense. Full week away to clear his head. Cops don't seem worried. Not about Dad either, Belle said. It's Rachel. Jeff took another sip, like it was on purpose, to give himself time. What about her? He said. Belle wasn't sure how to best approach this, all guns blazing or only half, keeping some back for later. I think you know something about her that you're not saying. His mouth open and closed. I know just as much as you do, he said, ending in a cough, catching it and the lie in his fist. Because Belle knew her uncle was lying to her, and she could prove it. Let me show you something. Belle gestured towards the table, where Jeff's phone was lying face up. She took a seat and pulled out her own phone, waiting for him to take the chair opposite. Last week when we had family dinner, you helped Grandpa to the car. Yes, Jeff said, eyes up, coffee down. And what? And you were wearing a live microphone. It recorded everything you said. Belle watched Jeff as he swallowed hard, one of his hands curling into a fist, the bony mountain range of his knuckles pushing through skin, giving him away. Would you like to hear it? She didn't wait for the answer, scrolling to the audio file and pressing play, turning the volume all the way up. Are you in, Dad? Jeff's voice from last week, metallic and tinny through her phone speaker. Belle watched the uncle in front of her as the one from last week spoke. He fidgeted and ran a hand around his neck. Let me get the seatbelt. Grandpa sputtered. Don't worry, I'll get that. Rustling. A click. Dad. A pause. I have to ask you something, and I need you to remember. Jeff dropped his head into his hands, elbows propped on the table, the crackle of material rasping against the microphone. I don't know who that is, Grandpa croaked in reply. You do, Dad, Jeff insisted, the one from now still hiding his face. You do know. Where was she? Where do they find her? I don't know. Dad, I need you to try. It's important. She stopped the clip, the room too quiet. Belle used the thickening silence against Jeff, staring him down until his face emerged from his hands. Belle, I can explain, he said, eyes wide in the headlights of her hard stare. Can you? She cleared her throat. Why do you think Grandpa knows where Rachel was? That he knows who found her and when? Jeff hesitated, a quick burst of blinks, muscles twitching around his mouth. He said. Yeah, I asked him about Rachel. I don't know anything, I swear. But Dad had mentioned something strange about her, so I was pushing for details. Now I just think he was confused. Belle narrowed her eyes. We don't hear Grandpa say anything about Rachel before you bring it up. It's all recorded. No, Jeff shook his head, too long and too fast, obscuring his eyes. Not then. A couple days before, when I was at his house. What did he say? Belle pushed. I can't remember exactly, Jeff coughed. Something about Rachel, about finding her. Maybe he was recalling an older memory and it just sounded like it was about her reappearance. He's confused. We can't trust his memories. But I wanted to check when I had him alone, after he'd seen her. See if it sparked anything. Obviously he couldn't remember. I shouldn't have done that. Not fair. It felt like he was still lying to her. Another cough to cover it. Holding eye contact with his reflection in Belle's phone screen, but not with her. So, does Grandpa know something about Rachel or not? She hardened her voice, trying to catch his gaze. I don't know. I don't think so. Belle dropped one hand to the table, a thud that finally drew his attention. And you don't know anything more about her disappearance or reappearance? No, I don't know anything, he said, and maybe he was lying, or maybe not. Jeff didn't like confrontation, and Belle lived for it. They couldn't be more different. But she didn't like the way he leaned on the word no. Like maybe he suspected something, or half believed another, and she'd only chosen the wrong word. You sure? She gave him another chance. Sure. Did Rachel ever have any reason to be afraid of you? Jeff's face clouded over, eyebrows eclipsing the white of his eyes. Of me? No, he said quietly. Why would you ask that? I always liked Rachel. She always liked me, I think. And now? Jeff shrugged. She's family, of course. Family first, Belle said, echoing Sherry's words. But Rachel was less family than others, much less than Dad. And if Jeff knew anything that could help bring him home. Do you know where Dad is? Did he mention wanting to leave after Rachel came back? Jeff shook his head. I don't know where he is, but I know he'll be back. He's the heart of this family. He never said anything, but you could see how overwhelmed he... Jeff was cut off by his phone, vibrating against the table, rotating as it did, an angry bug on its back. They both glanced at the screen. An incoming call from Bob, Jeff's friend, who he always dropped into conversations even when he didn't fit. Bob from Vermont. Belle's heart jumped to the base of her throat. Wait a frickin' second. Jeff moved to reject the call, but Belle swatted his hand away. Bob from Vermont, she said, voice urgent, grating in her throat. Is his full name Robert Meyer? Jeff narrowed his eyes. Belle clapped her hands to shock him out of it. Yes! Frick! Belle grabbed the phone before her uncle could. Hey, give... Belle swiped to accept a call, raised the phone to her ear. Jeff got to his feet, and Belle jumped back from him. Hello? A gruff voice said down the line. Bob from Vermont. Not just a name, but a voice, too. Jeff, I gotta tell you something. Hi, Bob, Belle said, moving away from Jeff, a two-step dance, hand splayed to hold him back. This isn't Jeff. Bob from Vermont was observant. She could give him that. No, it's not, she said. I'm Belle, his niece. Charlie's kid? Charlie's kid, she repeated. Now that you mention him, I need to ask you something. I already know what you're gonna say. A sigh that tickled the speaker. You're the last person my dad called before he went missing. Belle continued anyway, pushing through. At 3 a.m. last Saturday, the night he disappeared. What did he say, Bob? I really need to know. She added, voice tight and desperate, clinging to the walls of her throat. Another sigh. Absorbent and a mouth breather, Bob from Vermont. But he might be the only person who knew where Dad was. I've been through this with the state police. Just got back from an interview with them. Thought Jeff should know. Belle didn't care about any of that. What did my dad say on the phone? It's important. Jeff had backed off now, listening, eyes rotating. He didn't say anything, Bob said, sharpening the consonants. The call only lasted a few seconds. I picked it up, said hello, who's there, and no one answered. I could only hear the wind, like someone was there, not just talking. That's it. I don't know anything else, like I said to the police. Belle held her breath, trapped it in her cheeks, thinking, if Dad didn't talk, maybe he wasn't the one making the call, that it could have been Rachel using his phone, or, option 3, Bob from Vermont was lying to her. What's he saying? Jeff asked in a stage whisper. She ignored him. My dad made the call from Danville, Vermont. He must have been on the way to see you. Not a question, but Belle made it one. Well, he never turned up, and I never heard from him. And I don't know why you've got me messed up in your family stuff. Now I got cops asking me all sort of stuff. What kinds of stuff? Belle looked at Jeff, trying to remember all the scraps he'd dropped in about Bob over the years. Hadn't he said something about the dark web? Just because I choose to live off the grid, Bob was rattling on. What about your online activities? Belle asked, phrasing it as nicely as she could. Now you sound like one of them cops, Bob scoffed. And no, before you ask me to, I did not sell your dad a fake identity. I never saw him. You have my word. Belle paused. She might have Bob's word, but she had something else too. Something much more valuable. You sell fake identities? She asked, grasping at the thread he'd left. A pause. No, I do not. Okay, but if you did know about that kind of thing, how much would it cost someone to buy themselves a whole new identity? Passport, driver's license? I'm telling you, I don't know anything about that kind of thing, Bob replied, way too strong in his denial. What if you had $3,000? Belle said, chancing it. Would that be enough? Bob breathed out, and the line crackled. I think that would be more than enough, he said carefully. Belle's stomach flipped, the knot landing heavy with it. Her dad hadn't gone to Bob from Vermont. Belle had his word. But someone else might have. She chanced again, nothing to lose, even though Uncle Jeff was right here. 16 years ago, did Rachel Price come to you to buy a new identity? She would have had the cash to pay you. A shadow crossed Jeff's eyes, waiting for the answer to play out on Belle's face. Bob coughed, and Belle couldn't help thinking that a lie would follow if he was anything like Jeff. She waited. No, she did not, Bob said slowly and clearly. I never met Rachel Price. You don't think I would have told Jeff if she had? Saved your family all that pain all these years? She never came to me. You have my word on that too. Neither of your parents, so I don't know why your dad called me and dragged me into all of this. But I want to be kept out of it, you hear? Belle deflated. Could he be lying about one and not the other? She either trusted his answers or she didn't. Loud and clear, Bob from Vermont, she said. The line beeped and went dead. He's cheerful. Belle chucked the phone back to her uncle. He fumbled, catching it against his chest. What did he say? A lot of nothing, Belle sniffed. Dad called him that night, but he didn't say anything, apparently. Bob never saw him. Jeff nodded. I trust everything Bob says. He wouldn't lie. Of course not. Dark web criminals are as honest as they come, Uncle Jeff. He hesitated, one slow blink. Why do you think your mom is lying about her disappearance? I don't. Belle shrugged, feigning surprise. Do you? Threw it back at him. No. Jeff's voice trailed away from him. Good. Glad we agree. Jeff coughed into his closed fist. Don't tell Rachel about that call, Belle said, grabbing her abandoned phone. Or I'll tell her you think you know where she really disappeared to. Jeff shifted uncomfortably, shoulders rising to his ears. Deal, he said, speaking to the floor. Good. Belle pushed the door open with her heels, setting Jeff free. She gave him a pointed thumbs up. Family first. Each giving up a little more of Rachel, bit by bit. And even more of themselves. Family first, and Grandpa was next. That's chapter 22. So Bob is probably someone who deals with the dark web, right? Is pretty much what we're talking about. Is pretty much what we're learning. Right? I mean, that's what I feel like we learned with this chapter. That Bob probably does some shady stuff. The question is, why is he friends with Jeff? I need to know how Jeff and Bob are connected. That is the biggest thing to me. How are they connected? Because if they were like, you know, oh, we went to college together, like, okay, that's fine. But if they met outside of like school or, you know, them being childhood friends, how do you just casually meet someone and talk to someone that they work on the dark web or stuff like that, you know? I don't think anyone would give up that information that easily. So that's a little stressful. That's a little stressful. Man. I know, this is just a huge web idol. It's just getting more and more convoluted, and I don't like it. And again, we're gonna go see Grandpa, I'm assuming in this next episode. And, you know, I have this firm belief that the Grandpa's gonna reveal something. And apparently, according to Jeff, he also thinks the same thing. So, we will see. You wanna know what? I feel like, you know how sometimes, like, they remember stuff from where, like, people who have dementia or stuff like that tend to remember stuff from, like, not the most recent stuff, but old stuff. I'm curious if Belle is going to jog Grandpa's memory because she looks like Rachel when she was younger. You know? I don't know. I'm really not sure. That's the only thing I can imagine would happen. Chapter 33. Hi, Jordan. Belle bared her teeth in a smile, too fierce, judging by Jordan's alarmed face. Hello, Annabelle, he said, pulling the door fully open. We weren't expecting visitors. I was just doing your grandpa's lunch. Great, I'll join you. Belle gave him no choice, foot crossing the threshold, bumping the door out of Jordan's hands. She stepped inside, a wave of dry heat enveloping her, stinging her eyes. Jordan nodded as she winced, understanding. Your grandpa feels the cold. Belle followed him down the hallway, stairs snaking up to the right. Grandpa couldn't go upstairs anymore, the house cut in half for him. The study was his bedroom now, and Jordan slept upstairs, in the room Dad had grown up in. A lot of history here, the building blocks of the Price family. The grandmother Belle never met died right there, after a fall down the stairs, hit her head just the wrong way. Belle and Carter used to try and summon her ghost before the idea of ghosts became something to fear. Hey, Granny Price, watch me do a handstand. Hey, Granny Price, is the devil real? Grandpa was in the living room, in his armchair, the one they used to sit in to read together. Pat, someone's here to see you. Jordan over-enunciated every word. Your granddaughter Annabelle, isn't that nice? Belle walked into Grandpa's eyeline, dropping onto the sofa opposite him. Hi, Papa, nice to see you. She followed suit, leaning hard into every consonant. I'll be in the kitchen, Jordan told her. You want anything? Coffee? I'm okay, thanks. Jordan slipped out, stepped silent on the thick carpet, leaving them alone. Belle hadn't been alone with Grandpa, not since his first stroke last summer. Dad was always here to take the lead, to step in when Grandpa got confused, to be a familiar face through all the broken memories. Warm in here, isn't it? Belle said, starting to sweat. Grandpa made a sound in his throat. Did you enjoy the family meal last week, Grandpa? She said loudly. The paella? Grandpa raised a shaky finger, finally looked at her. Charlie? Dad's not here. It wounded her to say it. He's gone away for a while, remember? He'll be back real soon, I promise. Grandpa nodded upwards instead of down, straining the loose skin of his neck. Are you looking forward to your birthday dinner next week? Grandpa stared at her blankly. Maybe she'd spoken too fast, or maybe it was as Dad said. Grandpa didn't remember Belle. She belonged to that lost time. Maybe Rachel did too. Belle knew more than anyone what that was like. Ain't memory a bee, huh? Gone was gone, no matter how you asked. But Belle was going to ask anyway. She had to. Who are you? Grandpa asked her right on cue. It's Belle, Annabelle, Charlie's daughter. Rachel? Grandpa said, and the hairs picked up on the back of Belle's neck. No, I'm Rachel's daughter. Strange to state it as simple as that when it was anything but. Grandpa's eyes sank down her face. Rachel? Rachel's my mom. Belle tried another way, and it felt just as wrong, that forbidden word. Do you remember Rachel? His head moved, not quite a nod, but maybe on the way. Belle would take any sign she could get. It was stupid to pin your hopes on an old man who couldn't remember, but here we were. The same hopes that had been pinned on Belle once, as a baby who could hardly speak. Rachel disappeared. Do you know that? Belle asked, slowing down, trapping her hands between her knees. A flicker in Grandpa's eyes. One hand dropped to his lap. Charlie? Yes, Charlie's wife, Rachel. Grandpa looked over his shoulder into the hallway. Was he looking for Jordan? Papa? What? It was an accident? He muttered. No one meant to kill her. No one did kill her, Grandpa, Belle said, feeling the heat of frustration and knowing it wasn't fair. Rachel's back, remember? You've seen her. Grandpa's mouth twitched. Do you know where she was before she came back, Grandpa? Did someone find her? Do you remember? Belle needed him to remember. Grandpa pressed his eyelids together. I'm hungry. Grandpa, please. Belle shifted to the edge of the sofa. Tell me what you know about Rachel. I can't help Dad if you don't help me. Grandpa stared at her, unfocused, unseeing, mouth moving, but no sound. Rachel? She tried one more time. No reaction. This was pointless and she knew it. So did the knot in her gut, twitching on its strings. Grandpa didn't know anything, and if he ever did, it was lost now, along with the rest of his broken memories. Along with his 2 forgotten granddaughters. Jeff must have read too much into Grandpa's confused mutterings. Frickin' Jeff, sending her down the wrong way. Never mind, Grandpa. Belle gave up, wiping the frown on the back of her hand. I'm sorry. Jordan's head appeared in the doorway. It'll be a few minutes until lunch, Pat, he called, glancing over at Belle, a wary look in his dark eyes, a reluctant twist to his pursed lips. What? Belle snapped, scaring it out of him. Sorry. He tripped back and stumbled forward. I couldn't help overhearing. Couldn't you? She said, disappointing, turning stale and angry. Jordan raised his hands in surrender. Small house, you weren't talking loud. Wasn't trying to. He moved farther into the room. I'm sorry your grandpa isn't able to answer your questions. I'm sure you were trying. Weren't you, Pat? Grandpa grunted. Can we talk out here? Jordan asked her, thumb over his shoulder. Belle stood up, followed him into the small kitchen where the microwave burned, Grandpa's lunch parading under the yellow light. Sorry, he raised his thick eyebrows, making ripples up his forehead. I don't like talking in front of him like he's not there. I would say don't take it to heart. He doesn't remember me most days either, but he's not my family. It must be hard. Belle sniffed. It's fine. It wasn't like Grandpa had chosen to forget her. Choosing to go was much worse, asked Rachel. He gets confused, struggles with most of the long-term stuff, but you wanted to ask him about Rachel, didn't you? I thought maybe I could help instead. Belle tilted her head wordlessly, asking him to go on. He does remember Rachel, Jordan said, checking the timer on the microwave. Maybe a younger version of her, before she disappeared. He brings her up sometimes. Mostly it's Charlie's girlfriend Rachel, and that she likes books, that she's an English teacher. She actually came around yesterday for coffee. Also unannounced. Jordan pressed his lips into a toothless smile. Belle wished he wouldn't group her and Rachel together like that. Pat did seem familiar with her, like he knew who she was, so that answers one of your questions. The knot stirred in Belle's stomach. Rachel was here? Jordan nodded. She wanted to visit Pat to see how he was getting on without Charlie and asked to come in for coffee. What did they talk about? Just small talk. How the house looked exactly the same the last time Rachel saw it. I made them coffee, then went to fold laundry to give them some time alone. And you didn't hear what they talked about? Belle asked. Thought it was a small house. I was upstairs, Jordan countered. I only left them for 5 minutes, but... He paused, screwing his lips again, like he was trying to stop himself. Jordan? His mouth untwisted. Not saying anything bad, it was just a little strange. I came downstairs and Rachel wasn't here where I left her. He gestured at the small dining table. Your grandpa was in here with the 2 coffees, but Rachel wasn't. I called her name and she didn't respond. Where did she go? An insistent beep filled the room, blaring 3 times. Jordan's attention snapped to the microwave. Belle cleared her throat to bring it back. I found her in the living room, he said. I asked what she was doing, if she was looking for something, and she said she was just looking to see if anything had changed. She thanked me for the coffee, which she hadn't finished, and she left. A clicking sound in Belle's ears as her jaw locked, back teeth pushing against each other, biting onto nothing, biting on something. Where in the living room was she? Jordan turned to the microwave. Near the fireplace, but she left as soon as I entered. Did she take something? No, of course not, Jordan hissed, pulling the hot plate of food out of the microwave. Carrots and a slice of chicken pot pie. Belle tried to recreate the scene. The fireplace at the back of the room, beyond the sofa and the bookshelves. She couldn't think of anything around the fireplace that Rachel would be interested in. It was just a normal living room where her family had once lived, now an old man who only remembered half of them. What had Rachel been trying to do? Because it wasn't just the sneaking off during the unannounced visit yesterday, was it? No, it was the number of times she'd asked Belle and Carter about Grandpa's routine, whether Jordan ever took him out of the house. Both led to the same inevitable conclusion. There was something in this house Rachel wanted, or needed, something she needed to keep secret. And if it was important to Rachel, then it was important to Belle. Jordan, Belle said, trying to sound sweet, failing immediately. Yes? Jordan replied, because he didn't know her well enough. I guess my dad didn't have a chance to tell you this, with everything going on, she said, thinking on her feet. But for Grandpa's birthday, he'd always taken to Moose Brook State Park, hiking, fishing. It was a lie. They'd only done that once their whole life. Dad was planning to take him again this year. I know it's different since his stroke and you couldn't do the trails, but there's the roads around the campground his chair could go on. It's supposed to be a nice day tomorrow. I was thinking you could still take him for an hour or 2. A walk, grab some lunch. Grandpa would really like that, I think. Hopefully it'll distract him from Dad being gone. That was the only part Belle didn't have to fake, the way her eyes overstretched, overfilled, at the thought of Dad being gone. Jordan pressed his lips together in a way Belle couldn't read. She didn't know him well enough either. If that's what your dad would want, he said, or he asked, teetering between the two. Yes, Belle jumped onto it. It is. Dad holding everything together, even when he wasn't here. Jeff could come too. Grandpa should have one of his boys with him. Okay, Jordan said reluctantly, splitting the word in 2, like maybe he knew he was being lied to, but was happy to go along with it because he knew saying no was harder. And Belle would have made saying no very hard indeed. What time? Maybe if you leave at 11, Belle suggested, counting it through, working out the timings. Yeah, 11 tomorrow. I'll tell Jeff to meet you there. Frick, Uncle Jeff. He'd been wrong, so now we had plans tomorrow. So did she and Ash, and Rachel. Busy day tomorrow, for all of them. Okay, sounds good. Good, Belle said too. Better than good. Rachel! Belle shut the front door behind her, the double click of the catch like it was taking down to something. I'm home! Belle waited, listening throughout the house for the creaks and sights of a living person. Rachel moved quietly, steps delicate and deadly. Rachel was learning more about her every day. The way she walked, the way she blinked when she was tired, the way she fiddled, pressing her fingers against her thumbs when she wasn't thinking. Rachel appeared around the corner, soundless, face split with a smile. Having a good day? She asked, stepping back to let Belle into the living room. Belle dropped her jacket onto the sofa. She was having a great day. It's okay, she said. Rachel nodded. Hey, was Carter okay this morning? Seemed a bit quiet at breakfast. She's fine. Belle knew what Rachel was trying to do, trying to use Carter against her, but Belle refused to play her game. I think everyone is just worried about Dad. I miss him, she added, playing her own game. Rachel dropped her eyes, fiddling with the fabric lines in her jeans, pushing denim mountains into valleys, popping up and down. I know, sweetie, she said. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? Belle wanted to say, but she knew it would be a mistake. Rachel couldn't know that Belle doubted her, not until it was far too late. Grandpa missed him too, Belle said, watching her closely. I went to visit him today, and he just keeps saying Charlie. He doesn't understand. Rachel swallowed. Must be hard. Which might as well have been nothing. Belle cleared her throat. Especially with his birthday coming up. Dad normally takes him to Moose Brook for a hike every year. Jordan says he's going to take Grandpa anyway as a birthday treat. There was a twitch behind Rachel's eyes, balls rolling under the thin skin of her lids. Supposed to be a nice day tomorrow, and there's Rose his wheelchair can go on. I'm not going. Grandpa doesn't remember me. It confuses him, but Jeff's going. Obviously it doesn't replace Dad, but it's something. Now it was Belle's turn to drop her eyes. She didn't want Rachel to feel watched. Come on, take the bait. Fall into her trap. This was exactly what Rachel wanted. Grandpa and Jordan out of the house for a couple hours so she could get inside and do whatever it was she needed to do. Belle would know she'd fallen for it if she asked what time they were going. Come on, Rachel. That's a nice idea, she said, pressing her thumb to her bottom lip, creating a valley there too. Maybe I should go too. What time are they going? Got her. Belle tried not to smile. Jordan said they were leaving at 11:30. Rachel nodded again, small movements, like it was absent-minded, but Belle knew better. I might have a doctor's appointment at 12, she said, making her excuses already. I'll check my calendar. Rachel walked silently out into the hallway, towards the stairs. Belle waited a few seconds, then pulled out her phone. Typed a message to Ash. Do you have an even smaller camera? One someone wouldn't notice? It was delivered and read within seconds. Belle's gut tightening as 3 dots appeared on the screen. His reply came through. Frick's sake, what are we doing now? Who are you smirking at? Rachel asked in the room again, a smirk of her own. Belle hadn't heard her coming. Nothing. Belle put her phone away. It's just Ash. Because she couldn't think of a better lie. From the film crew? Rachel asked, the smirk becoming a grin. Oh, he's handsome. She winked. Heat rose in Belle's cheeks, staining them pink. No, he's not. Rachel laughed. Shut up, Rachel. Belle said, laughing too, only because Rachel was. Rachel stopped, ending in a sigh, the laugh still there in the lines around her eyes. You know, Belle, she said, hesitating. I know I've only been back 2 weeks, and everything must still be very strange for you. But, you don't have to call me Rachel. You can call me Mom, she fiddled, pressing her fingers to her thumbs. Only if you feel comfortable doing that. The awkward silence in the no-man's land between them. A line had been crossed, and Belle wasn't sure what to do now. She fiddled, too, with the ends of her hair. It wasn't the worst idea. Belle wanted Rachel to trust her, needed her to, so she wouldn't see the end coming. And it was coming. Tomorrow. Belle would catch her. Belle cleared her throat, took 1 step towards Rachel, crossing the border. Shall we make dinner together tonight, Mom? Rachel beamed. And that's chapter 33. She's calling her Mom? Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so crazy because it's so like... They're both just playing like this intense chess game, and I think I said that the last episode, but like they really are. Like she realizes that Rachel is trying to figure out their schedule, so she purposely makes it so that they are out of the house and then tells Rachel like, oh, they'll be out of the house, waiting for her to take the bait. Crazy. And then also calling her Rachel to prompt Rachel to tell her to call her Mom, so that she doesn't suspect that Rachel doesn't believe her. This is just all sorts of crazy, and geez Louise. Oh my gosh. This is so crazy. Some guess. Okay. We're just gonna jump right into it because I need to know. I feel like there's going to be less and less commentary as the book goes on because everything's going to start ramping up and I'm going to be like, I don't care. I just want to read. Chapter 34. A leaf trailed into Belle's eyes. She rubbed it away, knocking elbows with Ash. Watch the camera, he hissed, dodging a branch. They were hidden in the trees that lined Madison Avenue, opposite Grandpa's squat white house. What time is it? Belle checked her phone. 11:01. I told Rachel 11:30. We won't have long to set up. We won't need it. Ash turned the camera, catching the nervous look on her face. Hurry up, Jordan, she whispered, watching as Jordan finally got Grandpa into the passenger seat of the yellow car. He folded up the wheelchair and put it in the trunk, before climbing in himself. The engine started. "Enjoy your walk, Grandpa," Belle said as the car backed out and drove past them. "Let's go." They crossed the empty street. Belle, camera, Ash. The darkened line before the front yard. A shadow from the telephone line overhead. They crossed that too. No going back. Beside the steps to the front door was a wooden barrel of plastic flowers and an ugly ceramic toad holding a fishing rod. Belle picked up the toad by his head, a small silver key waiting there, in its sturdy outline. She scooped it up. Everyone knows Grandpa keeps the spare key under the toad, and always has. She was counting on Rachel knowing that too. "Budge," she said, knocking Ash out of her way on the steps. She slotted the key into the front door and pushed it open. "Need to remember to put the key back before we leave." "Roger." The toad's called Barry, actually. She walked ahead into the stifling, airless heat of Grandpa's house. "Carter named him." "No, I meant," Ash began, falling for it. "You know what I meant." Unfalling. "Frick, it's hot in here." He closed the door behind him, fumbling with the camera. "This way." Belle beckoned him down the hall and into the living room, somehow warmer. Jordan caught Rachel sneaking around here, the living room, she said for the camera's sake, over by the fireplace. Belle traced her steps that way, looking around, from the basket of logs beside it, to the TV stand, to the sideboard beneath the window on the far wall. "We need to know what she's looking for. It's important, I know it." She waited for Ash to join her across the room. She told him to dress incognito, which, for Ash, meant a thin yellow turtleneck and denim overalls, like a minion. "Best place to put the cameras on the bookshelves." Belle pointed to the double-framed bookshelf, hundreds of books piled sideways and up, in an order only Grandpa understood. Lots she recognized from when he used to read to her. She's less likely to spot it there, right? "Do you have the small camera?" "Of course." Ash dropped his backpack, unzipped it one-handed. "But has no one ever told you it's rude to ask a guy about the size of his camera?" Belle snorted, then regretted it, because Ash was smirking, too pleased with himself. "Hurry up," she snapped instead. "Rachel was still at home when I left, but we have no idea when she'll turn up." "Hurrying." He pulled out a small black square with a tiny lens, trailing a black cable. All of it no bigger than his hand. "Small enough for you?" "It'll do." She ironed out her face, taking it from him. "For discreet filming," Ramsey said. "Let's set it up." Ash said, placing the handheld camera on the coffee table to free his hands, still recording, pointing at them. "We need a plug." "There's one behind the bookshelf, I think." Ash knelt down, pulling out a few hardbacks on the lower shelf. "Here it is. Perfect. We can trace the cable behind all these books. Where shall we put the camera?" He took it back from her without asking, fingers brushing hers. "I am the camera assistant," he explained at the sour look on her face. "And I am the brains. We'll see about that." Ash placed the camera on the second highest shelf, about head height, tucked between two horizontal piles of books. The spines were dark, mostly black, and the camera blended right in, lost in their clutter. You'd only see it if you were looking for it, and Rachel likely wouldn't be looking for it. She'd be looking for something else. "Good?" Ash said, checking. Belle nodded. "I'll just chase this wire down back here." His tongue between his teeth concentrating. "Like when you felt up my top the second time we met?" Belle said, trying to make him uncomfortable, because it was fun, and she needed a distraction from the knot in her gut. "That's not what happened," he said coolly. "I'm far too awkward for that." "Played with my butt, too." "Belle, I'm trying to concentrate," he said, feeding the plug head down. "I'll need the Wi-Fi password to set up. You go find that." Sending her away because he couldn't send himself. "Found it," she said, only because she already knew where to look. On the TV stand was a piece of paper with Dad's handwriting, double its usual size. Wi-Fi password. Pat Price 112. Belle stroked her fingers across his words, something he had touched. Ash replaced the books in front of the socket, standing back to admire the setup. "Pretty good spies we are. The name's Maddox. Ash Maddox. The name's hurry the frick up and turn it on." "All right, Grumpy," he said, voice pitching higher. "Shouldn't speak to your spy husband like that." "You bring it out of me, darling." She gave him a sickly grin, still trying to push him away, even though there was a tiny part of her that no longer wanted to. "Ah, because you're so tough," Ash said with a knowing look, pulling out an iPad. "Tough girl that eats feelings for breakfast. And lunch," she added. "Children for dinner," he said, voice deep and rolling. Belle smirked, but she didn't like that. That Ash thought he knew her well enough to know the thing that she did. "Password?" He opened the settings on screen. "Pat Price 123. He typed it in. "Hold on." He pressed a button on the small camera. It beeped, just once. No LED light to give it away. "We're connected," he said, eyes down on the iPad screen, bringing it over so Belle could see. They stood shoulder to shoulder, looking down at two people, standing shoulder to shoulder, looking down at an iPad. One dressed like a minion, the other with a secret smile. Belle waved, the miniature version of her copying after a 1-second delay. "That's us," she said. You could see most of the living room, from the fireplace at the far end over to Grandpa's armchair and the TV. The picture quality better than she'd hoped. She glanced up from Ash on the screen to Ash just inches away, eyes circling him. "We're gonna catch her, aren't we? Proof? On video? Ruin her documentary too?" "Well," Ash scratched his nose, "it's not her documentary." "The Reappearance of Rachel Price?" she said, voice hardening, because Belle didn't suffer fools, and Ash was definitely a fool. "Oh, thanks, I know what it's called," he smiled. "The documentary isn't about Rachel. It's about you." Belle blinked at him. "Ramsey said you realized after your first interview that there was something about you, that actually even after Rachel came back and everything changed, you were still the subject." "What do you mean?" Her gut tightening, forgetting about the knot. "You're the heart of it," Ramsey said, "and he's the expert." Ash paused, biting his lip, looking over at hers. "Your name might not be in the title, but the subject is the person who will be most changed by the story. Ramsey says that's you." Belle's heart thudded in the base of her throat, skin alive and electric with it, sparking where Ash's arm brushed hers. "Ew," she said, trying to ruin it, and she failed. Belle's eyes fell to the iPad, and she saw the way Ash looked at her. The soft curve of his open mouth, the slow burn in his eyes. Ridiculous, wasn't he? On screen, one of Ash's hands floated towards her. Belle watched herself reach for the front of his overalls, pulling him in. She looked up. Their eyes met, then their lips. Ash's warm hand cupped the back of her neck, a different kind of shiver, one that moved down instead. Belle's bottom lip slid between his, parting like this was the easiest thing in the world. It didn't feel pointless. It felt like everything had been always building to this. A glow that made her forget the knot ever existed. Ash's nose bumped against hers, the hard corners of the iPad pushing against their bellies. Belle pulled away first, eyes heavy, lips stung. "Uh-oh," Ash whispered, breath brushing against her cheek. His voice brought her back into her skin, into this too-hot room. And Belle remembered how unguarded she was, how defenseless, how stupid. She wished for the knot to return, and it did, hollowed her out. "You're right," she stepped back, not looking at him. Why should she look at him? He would be leaving soon, leaving her behind. Caring was the stupidest thing she could do. And she didn't care. Trust her. We shouldn't have done that. Ash's eyes clouded. "That's not what I meant." Belle wiped her mouth on her sleeve. "I was just messing with you," she said. "You know how we do. Mutual unpleasantness." "That wasn't unpleasant for me." She stared him down. "Okay, Belle." A weak, one-sided smile, eyes drawn. "You're right. I find you thoroughly unpleasant. But I have to put up with you because it's a job and I'm helping my brother-in-law." "Good. That was better. Much better. We should go outside. Rachel could be here any minute." Ash tucked the iPad under one arm, shouldering his backpack, and picked up the camera. Belle could offer to carry something, but she was trying to be unpleasant, to undo what they'd just done. Besides, he was the camera assistant, and Belle was the heart, which was stupid now that she was thinking with a clear head. Ramsey was wrong. She wasn't going to be the one to change. In fact, if Belle had her way, everything would go back to the way it was before these cameras showed up. Rachel gone, just Belle and Dad. The way it was supposed to be. He'll see. Belle closed the front door and followed Ash down the steps, circling around to replace the key under the ceramic toad, ready for Rachel. They crossed the road again, scrambling through the bushes and trees that lined the other side, under the constant hiss of cars from Main Street. Ash dropped his backpack when they'd clambered in far enough. "Can you hold the iPad?" he said, not making eye contact, passing it over. "So I can record you watching it?" "Sure, I'm the heart," she said, no eye contact either. The screen showed the empty living room, waiting. Belle and Ash must be there somewhere, tiny and hidden, through the pixelated wall of green out the front window. "What's the time?" Ash asked. Belle checked the top of the screen. 29 past. "Lucky we didn't waste any more time," she said with a stab, and Ash staggered back. Her eyes flickered from the image of the living room to the time in the upper corner, counting the minutes on. "She's going to turn up, I know it." 11:30. The knot spiraled, eating away at her. Was she wrong? She couldn't be wrong. Come on, Rachel. 11:31, and a shushing sound of tires peeled towards them, breaking away from Main Street. Ash breathed in, and Belle breathed out. Please don't be Grandpa Jordan, she thought, hoping she didn't see bright yellows through the leaves. She didn't. She saw silver. A silver Ford Escape with mean eyes for headlights. The fuzzy shape of Rachel behind the wheel. Yes. Belle and Ash exchanged a look, a wicked smile she didn't share with him. Guess you know her pretty well, Ash said, and Belle couldn't tell if he was trying to be unkind back. Rachel parked, 2 wheels on the grass in front of Grandpa's house. Ash turned the camera, zooming to capture Rachel as she stepped out of the car and closed the door. Belle strained her eyes, heart pulsating behind them. Rachel approached the house, not checking over her shoulder, acting like she belonged. She dipped around the handrail towards the ceramic toad. She bent down out of view, blocked by the silver car, but when she straightened up, her hand was curled around something small. She has the key, Ash whispered. Well done, Barry. Rachel took the steps up 2 at a time, slotting the key in and pushing the front door open. She snaked around and shut it behind her, the noise not reaching them across the street. She's in. Belle dropped her eyes to the iPad instead, tilting it so Ash and the handheld camera could see. The empty living room. Belle counted 10 seconds until Rachel appeared in the frame, walking past Grandpa's leather armchair. She paused there, reaching up to tie her hair into a ponytail, opening her collar. She started moving again, beyond the sofa. What do you want in there, Rachel? Belle asked her through the screen, a feeling deep down that whatever it was might be the beginning of the end for Rachel, for all of them. Rachel grew larger on the screen as she walked towards the camera, right towards the camera. Her face and eyes turning, fixing that way. Frick, she hasn't, Ash began. Rachel paused, one hand in the air. She moved another step closer, head tilting as she stared right at them, through the hidden camera, eyes locking on. Frick, she has, Belle replied, a shiver as she and Rachel stared at each other through the screen. No. How could she have spotted it so soon? It was well hidden. Rachel frowned, her face engulfed by her hand as it grew monstrously large, reaching out for the small camera, covering the lens with the glowy pink of flesh, taking over the screen. The view tipped up into blackness, the dark underside of the shelf above. She found it. It was already over. That's chapter 34. So you telling me Rachel found this camera? What? That's crazy. That is so crazy. Also, they kissed. Ooh. Okay, this was the theory that I was talking to Matt, I think, yesterday. I was telling Matt, I was like, because everyone is kind of playing their own part in this. I was telling Matt that I really hope that Ramsey didn't hire his brother-in-law just because Ash is the same age or in the same age group as Belle, hoping that that would make more of a juicy documentary, or hoping that Ash would be able to get more information out of Belle because there's someone that she can relate to, like, years wise, and I'm scared that to some extent is what Ramsey is planning, and maybe Ash doesn't feel that way, and he's like, hey, I didn't know he had this as a plan, okay, you have to believe me. Because I was telling Matt, these types of books and like young adult movies love to do the freaking, like, what's the word, miscommunication trope, where they started out like, oh, this was a dare, and now I'm dating this girl, but she's actually really cool. But then she finds out about the dare, and she gets upset with him, and he's like, no, but seriously, at this point I really liked you, And I'm really scared that we're heading that way for them, but I don't know. I really don't know. That's just a complete guess on my part. I really don't know. But I needed to get that out there before we continue with this relationship, because I don't know. I'm excited they kissed, but also at the same time, why did they kiss then? Because, like, she was about to show up. Thankfully they got out in time, but still, that is so stressful. Chapter 35. No. Belle looked down at the black empty screen. Shh, Ash hissed. She might hear you. This isn't fair. This was supposed to be it. I'm sorry, Ash offered, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. No. Belle handed him the iPad, useless to her now. She's not winning. Where are you going? Ash grabbed her hand. I have to know what she came here for. Belle. Her name shaped by a gasp, but she was already running from him across the road, jumping over the line of shadow to the left side of the house, crouching below the front windows. She curved around the corner, hand to the wooden slats to steady herself, heart trying to drag her back. She wouldn't listen, her head winning out, telling her this was her chance to take Rachel down. Belle hurried 3 more steps, then dropped to her knees below the window, the one on the far wall of the living room, beside the fireplace, over the sideboard. If Rachel was distracted, looking for whatever she was looking for, she wouldn't see Belle. She planted her feet and slowly rose up, straightening her legs. She stopped when her eyes broke above the ledge, looking through the very bottom corner of the glass. Her own reflection got in the way, obscuring the room beyond. Belle moved closer, pressing her nose against the window, cupping her hands around her eyes. The room came into view, and so did Rachel, dead still, staring right back at her. Belle's heart told her so, escaping out of her chest. Rachel angled her head. "Annabelle?" she called, voice muffled by the glass. "Frick." Belle stood up the whole way, eyes still cupped against the window. "Hi!" She leveled her voice, smoothing the fear out of it. "I thought someone was inside." Rachel smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Come around," she gestured towards the hallway and the front door, her fingers walking through the air. Double frick. "Okay." Belle smiled, backing up until she could only see herself again, and that smile didn't even convince her. She walked around the corner, planning her excuses, discarding the ones that wouldn't do, the ones Rachel would see through. Ash must have spotted her now. Belle waved her arm in his direction, telling him to get out of here, swiping her hand across her neck twice to tell him it was over. She was dead, double dead. Rachel had taken the bait, but the plan had fallen apart. She trudged up the steps, and the front door opened. Rachel standing in the heat beyond, an unreadable look on her face. "Hi!" She moved back to allow Belle in. "Hi!" Belle said, brighter to throw her off. "That's funny," she said, still not sure what she was going to say or how it was funny. "What are you doing here?" Rachel asked. Belle was backed into a corner, came back with a lie. "I couldn't find my water bottle. I thought maybe I'd left it here yesterday. Did you see it inside?" Belle wandered through the living room. "Wait," she narrowed her eyes on purpose. "What are you doing here? I thought you had a doctor's appointment." Because Rachel might have caught Belle, but Belle had also caught Rachel here. A stalemate, a trial for both of them. Belle felt like she'd passed. Rachel's turn. "Oh, I got the day wrong," Rachel said, leaning double-handed on the back of Grandpa's chair. "Did you?" "Yeah, so I came over for Grandpa's walk. Guess I just missed them." Belle nodded, like that made sense. Then she stalled, chin pointed up like a new thought held her there. "How come you were inside then?" Rachel shuffled, clammy hands against the leather. "When I realized they weren't here, I let myself in with a spare." She paused. "It's Pat's birthday next week, and I wasn't sure what to get him. I thought I'd have a quick look around, see if I could figure out what he'd like." Belle completed the nod. Not quite as good as lie as her. Belle pointed towards the bookshelf. "Although I think I've been caught. I noticed there's a camera on the shelf." Belle's eyes followed the line of Rachel's fingers, spinning, searching, as though she didn't know exactly where it was. "Oh, that!" A dismissive wave of her hand. "Dad put that in months ago to check up on Grandpa during the day, since the second stroke. I think it's disconnected. Hasn't been turned on since Jordan got here." Rachel flexed her chin. "Makes sense." Yes, it did. Belle was pleased with that. "Why were you at the window?" Rachel said, throwing it back to her. "I thought I heard someone inside," Belle countered, "and the spare key wasn't under the frog." Rachel wasn't going to trip her up. "Didn't you see my car parked out front?" Rachel narrowed her eyes. "I saw a car, didn't realize it was yours. Don't know the license plate yet. Lucky it was only you," she said with a breathy laugh, as though Rachel was safe, as though Rachel wasn't the most dangerous person to her. "Yeah, lucky." Rachel glanced behind her, through the open doorway into the hall, her eyes fixed on the stairs, climbing them one by one, as the silence stretched between them growing teeth. Belle studied Rachel's face, looking for the signs she was learning, the twitches, the lines. Did Rachel know? Who had really caught who here? "We should probably head home, hey?" Rachel said, breaking the deadlock, offering a way out. "Want a ride?" Belle couldn't say no. And that is chapter 26. Chapter 25. Chapter 35. Jeez Louise! Okay. I'm so, caught in the story. I don't know what's... I can't believe her mom caught her. That's so crazy. I really, really hope that Ash got out unscathed and that she didn't see him. Can I just say, though, by the way, Belle is scary good at lying. I don't really know about much of her life before Rachel, right? But I feel like she is so quick to, be like, oh, I was here yesterday, dropped off my water bottle, who knows where it is, you know? And Rachel's just like, nah, I just kind of, the doctor's office, different day. That was a good lie. It definitely was idle. Shout out Grandpa for the second stroke is crazy. But yeah, shout out Pat. The uncle's a little suspicious, maybe. Why does he know someone on the dark web? They kissed. What are they gonna talk about on the way home? Because I think they're supposed to be making dinner together, right? So we'll see how that goes. Belle's gonna be forced to spend more time with her mom and act like everything's okay, even though they both kind of just caught each other in a weird place at a weird time. Yeah, no, thank you guys for joining me for book club. This is really, really fun. I am genuinely enjoying this loads.